The Pledge of Allegiance this morning will be led by Alexis Lucero from Arupe Jesuit High School.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Cole, please take the roll.
Representatives Becker. Representative Becker. Buck. Buckner. Conti. Corum. Court.
Yeah.
Del Grosso. Dorr. Duran. Everett.
Absent.
Exum. Fields. Fisher. Foote. Garcia. Gardner. Representative Gardner. Gardner. I saw him here earlier.
Bob?
Yeah.
Or, I thought he was called in. Was he late or Bob Gardner?
No, he was here.
Okay, absent.
Okay. Giroux. Hope. Representative Gardner present. Janal. Hamner. Holbert. Hollinghorse. Present. Humphrey. Called him. He's running late. Humphrey. Excuse. Joshi. Kagan. Present. Kraft-Tharp. Labuda. Landgraf. Lawrence. Lebsock. Lee. Representative Lee. Present. May. McCann. McLaughlin is excused. McNulty. Present. Melton. Present. Mitch Bush. Moreno. Murray. Present. Navarro. Nordberg. Pabon. I gotcha. That's okay. Representative Pabon. Peniston. Pedersen. Primavera. Priola. Rankin. Rosenthal. Present. Ryden. Sane. Salazar. Schaefer. Scott. I gotcha. Singer. Representative Singer is present. Sonnenberg. Stevens. Swam is present. Zabo. Representative Zabo, present. Tyler. Vigil. Waller is excused. Williams. Representative Williams? Oh, present. Sorry. Wilson. Representative Wilson. Wright. Young. Speaker Ferrandino.
With 61 members present, 3 excused, and 1 absent, a quorum is present. Representative Buck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I move that the reading of the Journal of the 13th of January 2014 be dispensed with, and that it approved and corrected by the wonderful Chief Clerk.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Because it's the work of our wonderful Chief Clerk, the motion is adopted. Announcements and introductions. Announcements and Representative Court.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to have a class here today, but they're not here yet. But they'll be here at some point, and they are from what school? Montclair International School, a group of fourth graders. They're supposed to be here right about now. Watch the gallery, and we'll wave at them when they come, but please be aware that they're coming. Thank you.
Representative Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I won't announce this every time we do this, members of the House Judiciary Committee, but because it is the first time this session, please be aware, upon adjournment, House Committee Room 112, Joint Judiciary Committee presentations. Please be there on time upon adjournment.
And Representative McNulty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's nice to have you back. I don't know who that fellow was who was here impersonating you for the first week or so of the session, but it seemed like he might have been trying for a spot on Duck Dynasty. So it's good to have you and your clean-shaven self back.
Thank you, Representative McNulty. My husband's not happy. I think my daughter is. Other announcements and introductions. Representative Duran, Madam Chair of the JVC.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Judiciary Committee, this is just a reminder to make sure that you bring your lavender books today to committee. We will be meeting with you to discuss the budget. Thank you.
Representative Pabon and Holbert for beer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is an agenda item that you've had in your calendar for the last several days, and today is the day. Tonight is the night. The Colorado Beer Caucus will be meeting this evening to celebrate and enjoy our wonderful craft beer industry in Colorado. And Representative Holbert will give you all the details that have been written down in your calendar. You've looked at it, checked it once, checked it twice, and today is the day.
5:30 to 7:30 tonight at the Governor's Mansion. As we've talked before, you definitely have craft brewers in your district. This is a growing industry around the state. We are the Napa Valley, or the Napa Valley of craft brewing here in Colorado. Come and get to know those small business people, whether you support big beer or little beer or in-between beer. Come and enjoy some of that product tonight at the Governor's Mansion. It's a bipartisan caucus. We'd love to have you there. Thanks so much.
Look forward to seeing you there tonight.
Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I just want to remind everyone, especially the members of the House Agriculture, Livestock, and Natural Resources Committee, that we will be meeting in joint session with the Senate tomorrow morning in an off-site field trip and tour of the History Colorado's Living West exhibit, and we will be convening at between 7:15 and 7:30 tomorrow morning, January 15th, in the lobby of the History Colorado Center on Broadway. So members of the Ag Committee, of course, are all encouraged to be there. It's an optional meeting. But I've also been informed that other members of the legislature who would like to see the exhibit are also invited to attend. So I hope you all take advantage of that opportunity. Thanks.
Do you have an announcement? Okay. Members, can I have your attention at the well for a sad announcement? Thank you. Representative Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it's with a heavy heart that I tell you that our dear friend Clarence Miller passed away this morning. He was at the Rowan community here in Denver. Many of you knew Clarence as a dedicated advocate within the halls of this building. Many of you saw him with Scott Bolt, who's in the back of the room there, as Scott made sure that when Clarence needed to be at the Capitol, he was here. Thank you, Scott, for making that happen. He was an amazing person who was actually born in Ray, Colorado, lived in Grand Junction in the regional center, and then a group home. In the late 70s, he and his brother got on the bus, were headed back home to Ray, stopped in Denver, and Clarence saw the gold on the top of the dome here at the Capitol. He got off the bus and declared that he was going to live right here in Denver where that gold dome was. He became a fixture at the state capitol, was never slowed down by what some would say his disability. I would just say simply a different ability. He was welcomed by all sitting governors in their office, but then again, if you knew Clarence, of course, it would have been difficult for them to keep him out. He attended our legislative committee hearings and was ready, willing, and able to testify if it suited him. Those who really knew Clarence could not help but love him. He embodied everything we should hope to be, making the most of what talents God gave him, holding his friends near and dear, and never sat back and watched the world go by, but made himself an active part of that world. He loved this building, this process without consideration of party, and know that he was on record of being a member of both parties at least a portion of his entire life. Those of us that knew Clarence are better for knowing him, for having known him and having him in our lives. Thank you again, Scott, for making sure that Clarence made it here. Thank you, Arlene Miles, for making sure that she always kept tabs on Clarence and helped Clarence. And thank you, Mr. Speaker and members, for this opportunity to tell you what Clarence at least meant to most of us. May he rest in peace. And Mr. Speaker, I would ask for a moment of silence for our good friend, Clarence Miller.
House will observe a moment of silence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Sonnenberg. Further announcements and introductions. I will announce, I see we have a guest who joined us, now, as of a couple days ago, former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Colorado, Michael Bender. With that and nothing on the calendar for today, I think it's time to go to committees. Oh, we have a tribute. Oh, hold on one sec. The House will stand in a brief recess. The House will come back to order. Members, we do have a tribute to our former Chief Justice. Mr. Kohler, can you read the tribute?
State of Colorado.
With your mic on, please.
Yes. State of Colorado, the Senate and House of Representatives convened in the 69th General Assembly hereby extend heartiest congratulations and commendation to Chief Justice Michael Bender on the occasion of his retirement from the Colorado Supreme Court. The Senate and House of Representatives recognize Chief Justice Bender's significant contributions to the state of Colorado through his distinguished service on the Supreme Court, in his roles as public defender and teacher, and in his private ventures. We congratulate him on the many honors and accolades he has received for his outstanding achievements during his career. The citizens of Colorado and the members of the General Assembly are indebted to Chief Justice Bender for his efforts. The Senate and House of Representatives would like to express gratitude to Chief Justice Bender for his exemplary service to our great state and wish him well in his future endeavors.
Representative Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I join with the House Chief Justice in congratulating you and wishing you well. This is an unexpected privilege this morning. I was asked just a few moments ago to say something about the Chief Justice and his tenure, and it didn't take more than a half a second, even for me, to decide what I was going to say, because there is something that is particularly significant to me about Chief Justice Bender's service and his work in the Judicial Department and as Chief Justice. For many years in America, perhaps throughout the world, the bar has been an insular institution. It is by lawyers, some people would say for lawyers. We lawyers don't think so, but we have a tendency to talk to ourselves, and that's not a partisan. You know, I get the unintended jokes even when I'm not working on it. Seriously, it is a problem. It is a problem throughout the United States. And one of the things that, while we have an open system, making the judiciary more open and hospitable to the average citizen, to the pro se party, those who appear on their own behalf, has been a focus of Chief Justice Bender's work. And I think under his leadership, I think Colorado has become a state whose judiciary is the most open. It is the most open to self-criticism, to scrutiny from outside, to improvement of the way that we do business for ordinary citizens. That has been his initiative, that has been his legacy, and I'm pleased to be able to tell the people of Colorado this morning and the members of this House what a difference he's made for the people of Colorado and for the bar of Colorado.
Representative Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it is my distinct privilege to be able to express on behalf of us here in the General Assembly and on behalf of all those we represent across this great state how grateful we are to Chief Justice Bender and how lucky we are to have had the benefit of his service to our judicial system. Nobody has been more determined to provide leadership in the judicial branch that ensures that ordinary people, people without means, benefit from the great leveler that is the judicial system. Nobody has provided more leadership, more compassionate insight into the needs of the ordinary person who can be intimidated by appearing in court, who can feel that the court is somehow not open to them because they don't have the skill or the training or the sophistication to deal with these very learned lawyers and judges. Chief Justice Bender has been determined throughout his career not only to make that his way of doing things, but through leadership on the bench to make sure that throughout the judicial system, the courts are there for the ordinary Coloradan. That is something that this state has benefited from enormously. And it would have been much easier just to keep the court system going the way it was, not being as accessible as it is. Chief Justice Bender didn't do that because he cared about getting justice for all the people of Colorado. So we are very grateful to you, Chief Justice, for the approach you've taken, for the public service you have rendered to the people of Colorado. And thank you, sir, on behalf of the whole state of Colorado. It is my pleasure to present you, Chief Justice.
Representative Kagan, can you hold on? There's a few other members who would like to say a few words. And members, please be seated. We have a few members who also would like to say a few words. Representative Court.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representatives Kagan and Gardner, for bringing this tribute. I just want to tell you about another side of Chief Justice Bender that many of you probably don't know about. But as you do know, I teach at Community College, Red Rocks, and every year for the past several years, the Chief Justice has very generously agreed to come to Red Rocks Community College to speak with my students about the judicial system. Now, let me tell you something. This is a big deal for a Chief Justice to take time out of his schedule to come speak to college students, let alone community college students, who aren't usually seen as the top of the heap kind of college students, although mine definitely are. But anyway, when I ask, he is always available. He comes. We make it a campus-wide event. People come. My students' eyes are like saucers when they realize who this man is. And then, when they realize what a stellar human being he is, to a person, they say to me the next class, he's a real guy. I say, yeah, that's the point. He is, and he cares about every single person in Colorado when it comes to to getting justice in the judicial system. So it gives me great pleasure to agree with this tribute and to second the tribute, or however we do this, because I think that Chief Justice Michael Bender is an exceptional Coloradan, and I probably will bug him to come back to my classes even though he's not the Chief Justice anymore. Thank you.
Representative Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'd like to offer some perspective on Chief Justice Bender. In 2012, he invited members over to meet with him, just get to know each other. And that year, I had the opportunity to sponsor legislation concerning court-appointed investigators with now Senate President Morgan Carroll. Kind of an odd alliance there, but we got a bill done that I was pretty proud of, and the Chief Justice cares about that issue. So when the invitation came for a group of us to join him in his office and get to know him, I was excited to take up that opportunity. During that meeting, Chief Justice Bender commented that if we had any sort of meetings out in our districts where he could come and speak, to please let him know. And I kind of chuckled and asked, well, would you really be willing to talk to 50 or 100 staunch conservatives down at the Warhorse Inn in Parker on a Friday morning? He said, oh yeah, happy to do it. Well, that meeting actually happened, and we had a great turnout that morning. And I'll tell you, the liberty-oriented, you can use Tea Party label if you'd like, folks down in Parker were sitting there with their arms crossed and their brows furrowed. And at the end, there were smiles and applause and handshakes. And Chief Justice Bender deserves credit for taking that opportunity to step across that political line, because the judicial system is supposed to do that. And Chief Justice Bender, I just thank you so much for your willingness to do that opportunity to have you come down to a conservative community and reach out to all of Colorado. We are in your debt, sir, for that opportunity, and I give you thanks and wish you the best in your career ahead. Thank you.
Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not a lawyer, so I'll be brief. I just wanted to sort of remember a moment where my life intersected with Justice Bender. And a few years ago, I was working on some juvenile justice issues and worked with some members of this body to do a tribute to one of my heroes, Judge Ben Lindsey, who was a real progressive of his time in the early 1900s, worked against the Klan and worked against child labor and things like that. and worked on this tribute with some members, as I mentioned, and I invited a whole bunch of people, including all the members of the Supreme Court, and I was just so taken that the one person who showed up was Justice Bender. Now, maybe you don't remember that, but it's amazing, as was mentioned by Representative Holbert and some others, one little act that may not seem so much means so much. And when someone like a justice of the Supreme Court shows up and honors someone like Ben Lindsey, or honors this body, and of course honors me by showing up, that makes a big difference, and that will always be remembered. And Justice Bender, you will always be remembered, and thank you very much for your service.
Representative Giroux.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Justice Bender, I want to thank you. Sitting on the Joint Budget Committee, the Judicial Department comes to us every year, and Justice Bender has spent a lot of the time that I've served on the Joint Budget Committee defending Mr. Maroney, and you've done it very well. And I just really want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your dedication. You don't do what you're doing because you're looking for fame, but, sir, you deserve it. And I also want to talk about something that has occurred during his time, during his tenure as the Chief Justice. And it's down the street from us, and that's the Ralph Carr Judicial Center. That was started by this body before Chief Justice served as Chief Justice, and this body initiated the naming of it. But I very much appreciate the fact that you were such an excellent steward of a building process, and I know you enjoyed the design process, and I know working with clients, because as an architect, when you go through the design process, it not only do you create something, but you change yourself. And I think you've agreed that that has happened, and I very much appreciate it. And your legacy will be downhill for us for a very, very long time. And former Governor Ralph Carr has a wonderful monument to his great career and the work that he did for the Japanese Americans. And I just really want to thank you, sir.
Representative McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, well, I've known Mike Bender since he was a public defender, and we go back a long way, and since he worked at the EEOC as a young lawyer. So I have just been honored to be able to watch his career and his ascension, if you will, into the highest possible position in the judiciary and the legal profession. And I went to his retirement the other day over at the Ralph Carr building, and it was very impressive to see the staff come forward and talk about how he had, as soon as he became Chief Justice, gone around the state and visited every judicial district, met with the staff, not just the judges, but the staff, to talk about how things could be improved and how things could be run more efficiently. And just in his, I think, 3 years as Chief Justice, he's been able to really make some changes that have dramatically improved the administration of justice here in Colorado. And we're sorry that he happens to be 72 and has to retire, because we know he's going kicking and screaming. What was that poem about not going gently into the soft night? Or Daniel, you can say it better than I can. Anyway, he's going to be around, he's going to be working hard for many more years, and we're just thrilled that he was able to do what he could do in the time that he's had on the Supreme Court. So thank you so much, and best of Mazel Tov.
Representative Labuda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I have something else to thank Chief Justice Bender for. If you go to the Supreme Court, you will see throughout the building maps that are historical maps about Colorado. The first surveys that were done to show the rivers, the mountains, the metals that we have, all of those are a gift of Chief Justice Bender, who started collecting them years ago from antique map dealers. And so in future years, the building will stand, and inside the building will be those gorgeous maps that nobody else has but now belong to the state of Colorado, thanks to Chief Justice Bender. Thank you, sir.
Representative Drain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do want to also thank the Chief Justice for all of his service to the state of Colorado. I remember meeting him many years ago when I was a student at the University of Colorado School of Law, and he has been dedicated to really bring forward the issue of fairness to Colorado. And I think it's something that is overlooked so many times, of when somebody who has not been in a court building before or who may not speak English, that we have a certain level of procedural fairness. And Justice Bender has truly stepped up for those issues. I also thank him for proposing such a modest budget proposal this year in his last year. But then also, every time he came in front of the Joint Budget Committee, just his high level of professionalism and always being accessible to all of us and to the public will definitely be missed. I want to thank him for his service, but I also believe that this is just the beginning, and I'm very, very excited to see what he does now that he will be retiring and what he'll be doing in private life, and I know that his service to the state of Colorado will continue. Thank you.
Any for Representative Kagan and Gardner to present the tribute?
Chief, if you will just stay there, we'd like to, Representative Gardner and I would like to just say, as you've heard, sir, you are held in the most high esteem in this body and throughout the state, and with a great deal of affection and with a great deal of admiration and a great deal of respect for you. It is my pleasure and Representative Gardner's pleasure to present you as a token of that affection, respect, and esteem this tribute, which I will bring to you now with Representative Gardner.
And that motion is unopposed, Counsel, and I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice Bender, for joining us, for all your work and your colorful language, too. With that, I think we are ready, unless there's any more announcements and introductions, I think we're ready to recess. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until 1 p.m. today, at which time the Speaker will adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Seeing no objection, members, we'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Good luck in committees. The House will stand in recess till 1 p.m.